Narada is said, a human who has, by dint of his austerities, devotion, and one-pointed love for God, reached a divine status, accepted in the assemblies of the gods, and who is among the few 8 immortals who are ever present in the world with a free access to the heavens, can move free in the spheres, who always goes round the world chanting the glory of God, reaching the blessings, the benedictions of God to those in need. So one day he is in a mood, this day he is in a mood to come down to earth. He leaves the paradise and he comes chanting, attracted by this golden summer earth that lay beneath him like a glowing bowl tilted upon the table of the gods. Our golden earth, when he comes down, looks like a glowing bowl tilted upon the table of the gods. He descends, and as he enters into the world of toil and quest and grief and hopes, there is an order in which he comes from the high paradise. He passed from the immortals' happy paths to a world of toil and quest and grief and hope, to these rooms of a seesaw game of death and life. Then there is a passage which traces how this earth has come to be. It says, across an intangible border of soul space, he passed from mind into material things, amid the inventions of the inconscient self and the workings of a blind somnambulist force. Below him circling burned the myriad suns. First he bore the ripples of the etheric sea. The highest, there is the ethereal ocean. Then a primal air brought first the joy of touch. A secret spirit drew its mighty breath, contracting and expanding this huge world. Ariel, the secret might of the creative fire, displayed its triple power to build and form, its infinitesimal wave sparks weaving dance, its nebulous units grounding shape and mass, magic foundation and pattern of a world, its radiance bursting into the light of stars, the fire principle. He felt a sap of life, a sap of death, liquid, into solid matter's dense communion, plunging, and its obscure oneness of forms he shared with the dumb spirit identity. As he comes, he beheld the cosmic being at his task. He saw the eternal labor of the gods and looked upon the life of beasts and men. A change now fell upon the singer's mood. He came singing of the glory of God and the light that never wanes. But after seeing, entering into a zone of suffering and struggle, a rapture and a pathos moved his voice. He sang no more of light that never wanes, and oneness and pure everlasting bliss. He sang no more of the deathless heart of love. His chant was a hymn of ignorance and fate. And as he sings, he sang of the truth that cries from night's blind deeps, and the mother wisdom hid in nature's breast. He sang of the glory and marvel still to be born, of the Godhead throwing off at last its veil, of bodies made divine and life made bliss, and the transfiguration and the ecstasy. As Narad sang these glorious prospects, and as he sang, the demons wept with joy. Demons are the deviating, erring beings who are working against God. When this sage sings of the glory of God and the transformation for everyone, the demons wept with joy, foreseeing the end of the long, dreadful task and the defeat for which they hoped in vain, and glad release from their self-chosen doom, and return into the one from whom they came. The profound idea is, even the devil, even the demons, even the adversaries, they serve a purpose. They are the fallen gods. And the demons, though they are working against God, in their heart of hearts, they are praying for the victory of God, because only so will their mission be destroyed and they be delivered into the one. So as Narad sings, they weep with joy at the prospect of their deliverance. And as he descends, he looked out from the luminous cloud, and strangely limped his face, a beautiful mask of antique joy. He is an ancient man who knows no death. He has lived long, for centuries, and lived in the bliss of God. So his face is a mask of antique joy, an old, sempiternal bliss. And he finds the palace of the king, Ashwapati, king, rising to the winds. And as he descends, he finds himself in the full court where the assembly has met. The king and the proud queen, an imperious queen by his side. They all get up, receiving him, welcome him, and he sings of the glory. And just at that time comes Savitri. Her radiant tread glimmered across the floor, a happy wonder in her fathomless gaze. Changed by the halo of her love she came, her eyes rich with the shining mist of joy, as one who comes from a heavenly embassy, discharging the proud mission of her heart, one carrying the sanction of the gods to her love and its luminous eternity. Then the sage looks at her. He flung on her his vast immortal look. His inner gaze surrounded her with its light, and raining back knowledge from his immortal lips, he cried to her, "Who is this that comes, the bride, the flame-born, and round her illumined head, pouring their lights, her hymeneal pomps move flashing about her?" He asks her, where had you been? And then he says, thou art kin in joy to heaven's sons. Now, O thou who hast come to this great perilous world, now only seen through the splendor of thy dreams. She knows the world only through the splendor of her dreams, where hardly love and beauty can live safe, thyself a being dangerously great, a soul alone in a golden house of thought, has lived walled in by the safety of thy dreams. On heights of happiness living doom asleep, who hunts unseen the unconscious lives of men. If thy heart could live locked in the ideal's gold, as high as happy might thy waking be, if for all time doom could be left to sleep. He spoke but held his knowledge back from words. He saw when his inner gaze surrounded her. He saw what is to come. But he only hints, if for all time doom could be left to sleep. But Ashwapati answered to the seer. His listening mind had marked the dubious close. An ominous shadow felt behind the words, but calm like one who ever sits facing fate, here mid the dangerous contours of earth's life. He answered covert thought with guarded speech. He speaks to him, asking him to bless the child. He says, of sorrow's songs we have enough. Bid once her glad and griefless days ring heaven here, or must fire always test the great of soul? Those who are great by soul, it is they who have to stand the test of fire. So he asks, all along the dreadful causeway of the gods, armored with love and faith and sacred joy, a traveler to the Eternal's house, once let unwounded pass a mortal life. Let this child pass for once, unwounded, to the Eternal. That is what the father prays to the sage. But Narad answered not. Silent he sat, knowing that words are vain and fate is the Lord. Then she says, Father and King, I have carried out thy will. One whom I sought I found in distant lands. I have obeyed my heart. I have heard its call. I have met on the wild forest's lonely verge the son of Dumatsena Satyavan. My father I have chosen, this is done. Astonished, all sat silent for a space. The moment she uttered the word Satyavan, Ashwapati saw, the king sees a dark shadow coming, but it is chased by a stupendous light. So he sees in his inner vision a great danger, but it is chased away by a great light. So he says, well hast thou done, and I approve thy choice. If this is all, then all is surely well. If there is more, then all can still be well. Whether it seem good or evil to men's eyes, only for good the secret will can work. Our destiny is written in double terms. Through nature's contraries, we draw near God. Out of the darkness, we still grow to light. Out, death is our road to immortality. That is what the Father says. And then might the sage have spoken, but the king in haste broke out and stayed the dangerous word. He didn't want the sage to say what he felt. He says, O singer of the ultimate ecstasy, lend not dangerous vision to the blind, because by native right thou hast seen clear. Impose not on the mortal's tremulous breast the dire ordeal that foreknowledge brings. Demand not now the Godhead in our acts. To know beforehand is an ordeal, something particularly something unpleasant, something bad and harsh, dangerous that is going to be. It is bad, it is dangerous, adds to the tension. Then, seeing this exchange between the two men, the king and the sage, the queen gets certain apprehensions. The mother of Savitri, she says, O seer, thy bright arrival has been timed to this high moment of a happy life. Then let the speech benign of griefless fears confirm this blithe conjunction of two stars and sanction joy with thy celestial voice. She pleads to him, here drag not the peril in our thoughts. Let not our words create the doom they fear. Mark the words. Let not the words create the doom they fear. There is a great occult psychology here. If we apprehend something, if we put it in words, you give a concrete shape to that possibility and invite it to take place. That is why, let not our words create the doom they fear. Here is no cause for dread, no chance for grief, to raise her ominous head and stare at love. And then she says, if wings of evil brood above that house, then also speak, that we may turn aside and rescue our lives from hazard of wayside doom and chance entanglement of an alien fate. So either way, says, you speak. Narad slowly answered the queen, what help is in prevision to the driven? You are all driven. What help is prevision going to give you? Safe doors cry opening near, the doomed pass on. A doomed person, even if a door of safety opens on the side, he doesn't look at it. He goes straight to his doom. A future knowledge is an added pain, a torturing burden and a fruitless light on the enormous scene that fate has built. Then she asks, what stealthy doom has crept across her path, emerging from the dark forest's sullen heart? What evil thing stood smiling by the way and wore the beauty of the Shalva boy? The queen is angry. She asks, perhaps he came an enemy from her past, armed with the hidden force of ancient wrongs, himself unknowing and seized her unknown. Here dreadfully entangled love and hate meet us blind wanderers mid the perils of time. Our days are links of a disastrous chain. Necessity avenges casual steps. Old cruelties come back unrecognized. The gods make use of our forgotten deeds. She complains and she says, she arraigns the cosmic order. We have sorrow for a greatness passed away and feel the touch of tears in mortal things. Even a stranger's anguish rends my heart. And this, O Narad, is my well-loved child. Hide not from us our doom, if doom is ours. To know is best, however hard to bear. The queen implores the king. And then he answers, the truth thou hast claimed, I give to thee the truth. A marvel of meeting earth and heaven is he whom Savitri has chosen mid men. His figure is the front of nature's march. His single being exceeds the work of time. But he says, after describing everything, 12 swift-winged months are given to him and her. This day returning, Satyavan must die. A lightning bright and nude, the sentence fell. His sentence fell like a nude lightning. But the queen cried, vain then can be heaven's grace. Heaven mocks us with the brilliance of its gifts. For death is a cup-bearer of the wine of too brief joy held up to mortal lips for a passionate moment by the careless gods. But I reject the grace and the mockery. Mounting thy car, go forth, O Savitri, and travel once more through the peopled lands. But she refuses. She says, I have given my word, I have decided, and my choice stands. He says, death's grip can break our bodies, not our souls. If death take him, I too know how to die. Let fate do with me what she will or can. I am stronger than death and greater than my fate. My love shall outlast the world. Doom falls from me, helpless against my immortality. Fate's law may change, but not my spirit's will. The queen is frustrated. She tells, O child, in the magnificence of thy soul, dwelling on the border of a greater world, and dazzled by the superhuman thoughts, thou lendst eternity to a mortal hope. Here on this mutable and ignorant earth, who is the lover and who is the friend? All passes here, nothing remains the same. None is for any on this transient globe. He whom thou lovest now, a stranger came, and into a far strangeness shall depart. Only the gods can speak what now thou speakest. Thou who art human, think not like a god, for man below the god, above the brute, is given the calm reason as his guide. She arraigns her daughter for speaking like in a language that is fit for gods, forgetting that she is human. But she says, my will is unchanged. I shall walk with him like gods in paradise. If for a year, that year is all my life. And yet I know this is not all my fate, only to live and love a while and die. For I know now why my spirit came on earth, and who I am, and who he is I love. I have looked at him from my immortal self. I have seen God smile at me in Satyavan. I have seen the eternal in a human face. Then none could answer to her words. Silent they sat and looked into the eyes of fate. Then the queen takes up the gauntlet and argues with the sage and tells, where is God, where is justice, what fault my daughter has done, that she should be visited by this doom. Where is justice, where is good, why is this pain and suffering in this world if this world has been created by God? And after a silence, the sage replies, was then the sun a dream because there is night? Hidden in the mortal's heart the eternal lives. He lives secret in the chamber of thy soul. A light shines there, nor pain nor grief can cross. A darkness stands between thyself and him. O Queen, thy thought is a light of the ignorance. Its brilliant curtain hides from thee God's face. It illumines a world born from the inconscience. Thy mind's light hides from thee the eternal's thought. Thy heart's hopes hide from thee the eternal's will. Earth's joys shut from thee the immortal's bliss. The world's dread teacher, the creator, pain. Where ignorance is, there suffering too must come. He says suffering has to be there as long as there is ignorance. Thy grief is a cry of darkness to the light. Pain was the firstborn of inconscience. Pain came first, then only joy could be. Pain is the hammer of the gods to break a dead resistance in the mortal's heart, his slow inertia as of living stone. There is a great inertia in man, and but for pain, but for suffering, he would not move. To remove that inertia, and because there is this pain, he removes the inertia, takes a forward movement, and he progresses. If the heart were not forced to want and weep, his soul would have lain down content at ease, and never thought to exceed the human start, and never learned to climb towards the sun. That is why there is pain. And he says, pain is the hand of nature, sculpturing men to greatness. An inspired labor chisels with heavenly cruelty an unwilling mold. Implacable in the passion of their will, lifting the hammers of titanic toil, the demiurges of the universe work. They shape with giant strokes their own. Their sons are marked with their enormous stamp of fire. Although the shaping God's tremendous touch is torture unbearable to mortal nerves, the fiery spirit grows in strength within and feels a joy in every titan pang. This is what we were speaking the other day, that what is painful to the outer person being is not registered as pain at the level of the soul. The soul inside rejoices in an experience which makes it evolve, progress rapidly. It chooses the difficult path. And he says, He who would save himself lives bare and calm. And here is a great truth of those who come with a mission, of those who want to lift the burden on the head of man, to deliver him from suffering. The great incarnations, the great spirits of God who come to toil and save man, they have a price to pay. He says, he who would save the race must share its pain. This he shall know who obeys that grandiose urge. The great who came to save this suffering world and rescue out of time's shadow and the law must pass beneath the yoke of grief and pain. They are caught by the wheel that they had hoped to break. On their shoulders they must bear man's load of fate. Heaven's riches they bring, their sufferings count the price, or they pay the gift of knowledge with their lives. The Son of God, born as the Son of Man, has drunk the bitter cup, owned Godhead's debt, the debt the eternal owes to the fallen kind, because man and nature suffer out of a situation created by God. God owes a debt to man and nature, and he pays that debt with his life. His will has bound to death and struggling life that yearns in vain for rest and endless peace. Now is the debt paid, wiped off the original score. The eternal suffers in a human form. He has signed salvation's testament with his blood. He has opened the doors of his undying peace. The deity compensates the creature's claim. The Creator bears the law of pain and death. A retribution smites the incarnate God. His love has paved the mortal's road to heaven. He has given his life and light to balance here the dark account of mortal ignorance. It is finished, the dread mysterious sacrifice offered by God's martyred body for the world. Gethsemane and Calvary are his lot. He carries the cross on which man's soul is nailed. His escort is the curses of the crowd. Insult and jeer are his rights acknowledgement. 2 thieves slain with him mock his mighty death. He has trod with bleeding brow the Saviour's way. He who has found his identity with God pays with the body's death his soul's vast light. His knowledge immortal triumphs by his death. Hewn, quartered on the scaffold as he falls, his crucified voice proclaims, I am God. Yes, all is God peals back heaven's deathless call. The seed of Godhead sleeps in mortal hearts. The flower of Godhead grows on the world tree. All shall discover God in self and things. But when God's messenger comes to help the world and lead the soul of earth to higher things, he too must carry the yoke he came to unloose. He too must bear the pang that he would heal. Exempt and unafflicted by earth's fate, how shall he cure the ills he never felt? He covers the world's agony with his calm. But though to the outward eye no sign appears, and peace is given to our torn human hearts, the struggle is there and paid the unseen price. The fire, the strife, the wrestle are within. He carries the suffering world in his own breast. Its sins weigh on his thoughts, its grief is his. Earth's ancient load lies heavily on his soul. Night and its powers beleaguer his tardy steps. The Titan adversary's clutch he bears. His march is a battle and a pilgrimage. Life's evil smites, he is stricken with the world's pain. A million wounds gape in his secret heart. He journeys sleepless through an unending night. Antagonist forces crowd across his path. A siege, a combat is his inner life. Even worse may be the cost, direr the pain. His large identity and all harboring love shall bring the cosmic anguish into his depths. The sorrow of all living things shall come and knock at his doors and live within his house. A dreadful cord of sympathy can tie all suffering into his single grief and make all agony in all the worlds his own. He meets an ancient adversary force. He is lashed with the whips that tear the world's worn heart. The weeping of the centuries visits his eyes. He wears the blood-glued, fiery centaur shirt. The poison of the world has stained his throat. In the Indian mythology, time was when the entire ocean was churned because the elixir of life, nectar, the immortal drop, was known to be within the waters. So the gods on one side and the Titans on the other started churning it. And the churning was done one after another. The gifts came out from the ocean. The immortal horse, the elephants, the jewels, maidens, all these one after another, they came up for the earth. And at last came poison. And when the dark poison came, the whole creation was threatened that it would overflow and kill everybody. Neither the gods nor the Titans could do anything about it. So at that time they appealed to God Shiva, the ascetic god, an ascetic but who has full love for the universe in his bosom. He came forward and he drank the poison. But as he drank, he held it in his neck, throat. He did not allow it to go inside. And his whole throat turned blue. That is why he is called the blue-throated ascetic. And the reference is this: the poison of the world has stained his throat. It is God who swallows the poison that comes up in the world. It is representatives of God who pay the price and swallow the poison. So the great of spirit, it is their lot to suffer for the rest, for humanity. This is the Narad's argument. And then he says, hard is the world redeemer's heavy task. The world itself becomes his adversary. His enemies are the beings he came to save. Those he would save are his antagonists. The world is in love with its own ignorance. Its darkness turns away from the Savior light. It gives the cross in payment for the crown. His work is a trickle of splendor in a long night. He sees the long march of time, the little one. A few are saved, the rest strive on and fail. A sun has passed, on earth night's shadow falls. Each time the messenger of God comes, he is scoffed at. His wages are pains, jeering and suffering. A few, however, are saved, and the night shadow falls. From the beginning of history, this has been the lot of every messenger of God who comes to earth to save the earth. And then there is a discussion whether there is fate or there is truth. What is fate? Fate is truth working out in ignorance. Truth works out in ignorance, and that process is called fate. O King, thy fate is a transaction done at every hour between nature and thy soul. Fate is a balance drawn in destiny's book. Man can accept his fate, he can refuse. So man not only can create his fate, but he can even refuse. And how he refuses? By moving away from the level of consciousness on which he has forged his fate. By changing that level, by growing in his consciousness, he goes beyond the range of that past karma, except for an element of what is called ineluctable karma. That part of fate which is ineluctable, all the rest of the fate, it is possible to overcome, because after all, fate is a working in the choice of the soul. So the sage appeals to the queen at the end. Queen, strive no more to change the secret will. Sometimes one life is charged with earth's destiny. It cries not for succor from the time-bound powers. Alone she is equal to her mighty task. Intervene not in a strife too great for thee. A day may come when she must stand unhelped on a dangerous brink of the world's doom and hers, carrying the world's future on her lonely breast, carrying the human hope in a heart-left soul. Her single greatness in that last dire scene, she must cross alone a perilous bridge in time and reach an apex of world destiny where all is won or all is lost for man. Alone she must conquer, or alone she must fail. No human aid can reach her in that hour. No armored God stands shining at her side. Cry not to heaven, for she alone can save. For this silent force came mission down. In her conscious will took human shape. She only can save herself and save the world. O Queen, stand back from that stupendous scene. Come not between her and hour of fate. Her hour must come, and none can intervene. That was his final word to the Queen. He spoke and ceased and left the earthly scene. He turned towards his far-off blissful home, a brilliant arrow pointing straight to heaven. And the court rises, and the theme proceeds. Times 2, 3:45, yes, 10 minutes more. And then, once again, the chariot carrying Savitri starts from the palace, but this time accompanied by a retinue. Those who are commissioned by the king to take her to her husband. And there they go. They are unwilling to come back, but they know they have to come back and leave their beloved princess in that humble cottage, where she takes up all the chores of the broom and the jar. She takes up all the menial work, and a strange light shines in her most common acts. She works from day to night. She doesn't speak a word of the impending doom. She doesn't share that knowledge even with Satyavan. And she stays by his bedside when he sleeps and dreams, thinking over the future. So 1 year passes, and as the year comes to a close, she is struck by grief. She does not know what to do. And as she is sitting in that state, as she is sitting staring at the dumb tread of time and the approach of an ever-nearing fate, a summons from her being's summit came, a voice, a call from the higher heights of her being. She hears in the form of a voice. That voice asks her, "Why camest thou to this dumb, death-bound earth, this ignorant life beneath the indifferent skies, tied like a sacrifice on the altar of time? O spirit, O immortal energy, if it was to nurse grief in a helpless heart, arise, O soul, and vanquish time and death." But Savitri's heart replied in dim night, "My strength is taken from me and given to death. Why should I lift my hands to the shut heavens, or struggle with mute inevitable fate, or hope in vain to uplift an ignorant race who hug their lot and mock the Saviour light, and see in mind wisdom's sole tabernacle? Is there a God whom any cry can move? In her grief she asks. He sits in peace and lives the mortal strength, impotent against his calm omnipotent law, and in conscience and the almighty hands of death. What need have I, Satyavan, to avoid the black meshed net, the dismal door, or call a mightier light into life's closed room? This shall best feet and follow close behind my lover's steps, and pass through night from twilight to the sun. The voice replied, Is this enough, O spirit? And what shall thy soul say when it wakes and knows the work was left undone for which it came? The voice reminds her of her high destiny. Or is this all for thy being born on earth, to pass and leave unchanged the old dusty laws? And then the voice asks, Is this then the report that I must make, my head bowed with shame before the eternal seat? Healed in thy body has failed, his laborer returns her task undone. That prods her into awakening. And she says, Speak to my depths, O great and deathless voice, command, for I am here to do thy will. The voice replied, Remember why thou camest, find out thy soul, recover thy hid self, inside seek God's meaning in thy depths. Then mortal nature change to the divine, open God's door, enter into his trance. And then she, Savitri, her husband, sat rigid in her golden motionless pose, and sought for her soul. This is the beginning of Savitri's entry into the inner worlds in search of her soul. I think we'll put it off for the next time.